Hey everyone, I'm Alyssa, an Indianapolis Colts cheerleader for the 2024 season, and this is Believe in Colts.
Welcome back to Believe in Colts. I'm Lawrence Owen. With me, as usual, is my guy, Booyah, Donald Thomas. And hey, Victory Monday. Ain't said that in a month. Oh my goodness. And not just to say Victory Month, but impressive. I mean, I get the Jets are a 3-win team, but this defense is top 10 defense, top 10 in points per game allowed, top 10 in yardage allowed, and the offense looked really good. The defense didn't allow a first down until like the last drive of the first half. I mean, I was shocked at how good this team overall. I mean, there was mistakes, there was things you could build off of, but I thought this game looked pretty decent overall. What's your initial thoughts about the game yesterday?
I'm glad they got a win, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like they needed that. They needed that win bad. Like you said, I didn't realize it was a month. I guess with the bye week and all that kind of stuff. And
we didn't have a bye. Well, they lost 3 in a row, and then yesterday was a win, so that's 4 weeks.
Yeah, I'm just glad that we got the W. And definitely didn't want to lose to the Jets. That'd have been rough. So, they're a bottom team, they're in that bottom echelon of the league. So I'm like, we got to get a win against the Jets because it just feel good for the players to kind of, it just always feels good to get a win. Always, because it's so hard to get wins in National Football League. Regardless of the team, it's not easy to win football games. So, I think guys made plays when they had to. They made plays when they had to, and they did enough, and they didn't stop fighting when they were down. And that last drive that they had offensively showed it.
Yeah, they did. Absolutely did. And that last drive really stepped up, showed a lot of gut and moxie from this offense for the Indianapolis Colts that we hadn't seen earlier this year. Before we get into it, I've got to remind everybody, BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and an ability to watch games as they happen. Wow, I coughed. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA to college basketball, NHL, UFC, and MMA. Head to BetOnline today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online betting. BetOnline, the game starts here. Now, as I said earlier, it wasn't a game that was without, things that can't be, improved upon. I mean, there was a lot of turnover opportunities, I will say, fumbles. We lost one. No interceptions, which is nice to see. First time in a while we see a game where there's no picks and really no opportunity for picks. It was, it was well-placed balls most of the game away from the defenders, but you had that strip sack, you had the exchange fumble that put us back on first down and put us behind the sticks hardcore. There was some situations, a few missed passes like to Mo Alley Cox, right, on that 2-point conversion that he just overthrew him just a hair. Don't know if that was all Anthony Richardson, because to me it looked like Mo was kind of lollygagging there on the corner route. But overall, they looked fairly sharp. I mean, my goodness. And the biggest, obviously the biggest thing that's shown in this game was Anthony Richardson looked locked in and looked like he had this fire that we hadn't seen earlier this season. And I mean, the elephant in the room, did that 2-week benching have something to do with that? What do you think of Anthony Richardson and the situation and the game that he had?
Yeah, I mean, just like I said, anyone who follows our shows, our podcasts, like I quoted that Bobby Knight, speech that he had with the media that time about, when the player gets benched and the bench talks to butt and the butt talks to the brain and the brain, responds to, okay, I need to get off the bench. So what do I need to do? I need to play better. And, he played better. He played better. Like I'm not going to sit here, and if anyone else knows, I was for the benching just because of what had been displayed and what was shown through his play and his mannerism. So, I think that, for the most part, he played a better game than we've seen him play so far this year. He managed the game. I mean, there were mistakes that were made. There were the fumbles and what have you, and a couple of overthrows, but, we're not all perfect. So, for the most part, it was good enough to get a win. And, there's things to clean up. Obviously, there's always room for improvement. I don't care who you are. But, he did enough to manage a football game. And when we needed drives, he put them together. And, he led his team down the field and they scored touchdowns. So it was very positive in that aspect. And especially the most impressive one was that fourth quarter drive when they were down to, get the ball down the field, then score a touchdown. In that fashion was very, very, I know it was very exciting for him, but more exciting for probably the players and for the coaches in front office to say, okay, all right, whew. I think that we can kind of cover, the decision that we made with the result that we just got from, benching him for those 2 weeks. So, hats off to him as a young player. I know how important it is and how hard it is and mentally wearing on you to, drive around a city that, has mixed reviews on you, and to read the papers and to read, open up your phone and see, interviews and hear things and all the above. Like, nobody's immune to not seeing or hearing anything. So, as a young, up and coming player, he needs that confidence and so I think this is going to give him that confidence that he needs to keep pushing forward, to know, hey, if I really lock in to be a professional, if I really take this serious, if I don't just rest on my, my athletic ability, we can win football games, so we can compete. And so, this is going to be a great learning, tool for him. But also we got some daunting challenges coming up that he needs to really be locked in for. And so, this is this will be a great week to see how they prepare overall as a whole team, not just Anthony, because it's going to be more than just him. I mean, this defense is going to be tested. This offensive line is going to be tested, all the above. So we'll see, man. But overall, I was happy with the way that, Anthony performed throughout the day, especially in the fourth quarter, when we've seen him press the panic button before in these situations and the outcome wasn't what we wanted. Here he looked more composed. They had more time and everybody was on the same page.
You talk about learning experience. You talk about confidence. I can't remember a time before this where he led a 2-minute comeback game-winning drive in a game. And he did that against, like I said, a top 10 defense in the league, and did it with composure. And, when talking about on that final touchdown run on that design quarterback sweep, he said there was no one stopping me from getting in that end zone. I made up my mind before I even snapped the ball. I was getting in, right? And that's what you want to hear from your guy. Something else I saw, I talked about that overthrow to Mo Alley on that 2-point conversion. His reaction after the overthrow made me smile and go, okay, I like what I see from him, because he was like, like, that's me, I need that back. And normally you didn't see that earlier in the season. You saw him just kind of walk off the field and be like, well, it is what it is, and move on. And this time you could tell that he's going to work on that. That's stuck in his craw, stuck in his brain. And, he won't miss that throw next time, because of how important that play was to him specifically, and he showed that on the field, and that made me feel really good about that.
Yeah. He has, you have to realize, and he realizes that, the Jets they're indicative of their record, their play is, right? So there's going to be those instances where you can't shoot your own self in the foot. And when you can find those holes and make those plays and those throws and everything, you miss them by a little bit, you're like, oh, I got to get that back. I can't make that mistake. But this is the stuff that, that like you necessarily like you have those instances when you play a lot of college football, right? And so like these are happening now in the NFL. So now it's like people are less in tune to have patience, right? But now we're seeing that like with more reps, with all that, granted, it's a 1-point victory. A victory is a victory. That those mistakes, hopefully he doesn't make them when we play better competition, bigger games, and down the line, stuff like that. But you can make them, but still recover from them in a game like this is where you get your development from a standpoint for him, right? Like you got to win. You squeaked it out. You saw the mistakes you made. You can correct them, right? And so the beauty of it is you still got a W, and you still kind of keep your team alive for some playoff talk.
Absolutely. And this in a game where the run game just wasn't there today. I mean, yes, Jonathan Taylor had 24 carries in this game, but only 57 yards. He didn't even get 2.5 yards a carry in a game. Even Richardson was only 3.2 yards, got 2 touchdowns. But, this was a game where it really rested on Anthony Richardson's arm, and he completed passes. You saw him throw darts when he needed to, but touch when he needed to as well. And, he ended up 66% on the day, 272 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions. It was, in my opinion, his best day as a passer that I have seen from him, consistently throughout an entire game. I remember last year against the Rams in the second half, he looked pretty good, but the first half he was awful. Right. In this game, there was some periods in the middle of the game where he was kind of, but for the most part, he looked pretty darn consistent, made good decisions. There was a time when, there was nothing there. He was under pressure and he threw the ball away in the middle of the field because he was still between the tackles. So he couldn't throw it out of bounds. So he threw it straight into the middle of the field, and let it hit the dirt. And it was a throwaway, and it was smart. He didn't take a sack. He didn't try to throw it into triple coverage like you would normally see him do. It was a first down, so he lived to see another down. And, you're seeing growth from a young man. And I'm hoping we continue to see it. You said, this is the Jets. They are indicative of their record, but it is a good stepping stone.
Correct. And, to go back to the running game, when you start 3 rookies on the line, you're going against Quentin Williams, you're going against a very good defensive front. And Jets have been notorious to always have a good defensive front, no matter how good or bad they are in the season. They got some guys up front. Yeah. They've always had that. Every year that I played the Jets, they had dudes that could go. And so I knew from the run game standpoint, it was going to be difficult for them to get going, just because they had to be solid on those combo blocks. And then, one-on-one matchups with Quentin can be difficult for anybody in the league. And he's shown that he's, one of those top 3 interior defensive tackles in the league. So you're going to have your hands full. So the run game wasn't going to get going. There were times where, like the cutback wasn't there or you saw Jonathan cut it back right away just because that front side guard was already occupied and that lane was already closed up. So it kind of made it hard for him. But then you kind of, you saw him getting taped on the sideline again. So now there's going to be questions about his ankle. He probably won't practice this week just so that he could be up for probably the best team in the league coming down here, to this game on Sunday. But, the run game definitely struggled, less than 100 yards, 57 yards for him. Anthony Richardson had 32. And then you had, A.D. Mitchell with 2 yards rushing. But nonetheless, like that run game's going to have to get going. Hopefully, I don't know, what the deal is with everybody being banged up and when they'll come back, but this is going to be a game where the run game is going to have to complement the pass game because you don't want Anthony Richardson to become the number 1 rushing, person on the team, or you don't want to have to ask him to drop back and throw, 45 passes a game either. Because then now you're going to put him back into a panic mode, or it's sink or swim, or you don't know what you're going to get, and there's more opportunities for, mishaps. So the run game's a question. We'll see what happens. I don't know Trey Sermon, all these guys, I don't know if they're just all of a sudden they don't want to use them or what. I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but either way, some guys have to step up as well. If I hope he's not, if Jonathan's ankle is banged up again.
Yeah, he did come out
and he was limping. I don't know if people really saw that, but I pay attention to a lot of the other stuff, right? So like I'm watching him when he's coming in and out the huddle, he's limping a little bit after he got the ankle retaped, and it was like one of those things where like you conserve whatever you have left in the tank, energy, like injury wise, not for getting in and out the huddle, because I'll limp to that. But when I have to make a play, like I got to give it 100% of whatever I got left to get some juice going. So there was definitely, he was feeling it. He was feeling it. And it's tough, man, because you get those high ankle sprains, and then it just takes one little tweak and you feel like you're back to square one, where you're like, dang, did I just break it or just go, like, how bad is it? And then you realize like through the week it's not as bad. It's just those ligaments are just taking time to, heal up, and any little tweak feels like the worst pain in the world. And then you got to go play on it. So I don't see him participating in a lot of practice this week, just to be ready for Sunday.
Yeah, I'm hoping Bernard Ryman comes back to the left tackle, because you're going to need a guy that solid on the quarterback's blind side against this aggressive Lions defense that's coming up, as you said, this upcoming week. Coaching wise, I feel like I liked pretty much most of the calls on both sides. There was a couple of them that questionable. Why are we running it up the gut, on goal line situation when we couldn't run it up the gut all game? Or on defensively, there was one play where it was like 3rd and long, and we drop our best pass rusher into coverage and only sent 3. I didn't get that. I don't understand that at all. But those are really the only 2 plays that, stuck out in my mind going, I wouldn't have done that if I was, calling the play. So, if I can only call one for each guy for a whole game that I disagree with and say I don't like that call, I'm going to say they did a pretty good job game calling overall. Just execution at points by players weren't there.
Correct. Like, yeah, there were some missed tackles. There were some, I know that's like your pet peeve. I know that gets you going all the time. And so those missed tackles lead to added yardage, which leads to first downs, which leads to touchdowns or scores. So, yes, I get it. There were times where, dropping your best pass rusher. But at the end of the day, man, like Aaron Rodgers' boat is sailed. That ship is sailed and it ain't coming back. And so, you even see like what he did on that last drive. Like, what the heck was that? Like, that was so out of left field. Like, I can't believe he threw that ball. Like, they're lucky that we didn't recover it and pick it up for a touchdown, right? So, I question Gus's calls sometimes, but then again, like when you're in the mind of a coordinator and they're like mad scientists out there, and they think that they got the call that the other coordinator called beat, and so nonetheless, like he figured, all right, I'll drop another one in the coverage, hoping that he's just in that passing lane to pick the ball off, and then we can get pressure to the quarterback like we did on the very last play of the game. Old quarterbacks hold on to the ball a little bit longer sometimes than they should, right? I mean, there was times when Aaron got that ball out super fast, but nonetheless, I think both sides called fairly good games. There were a few calls where I wouldn't have on offense. Offensively, in my opinion, I would have tried to, I would have got the ball outside a little bit more on the edge in the run game. Because you saw, like, when Anthony ran, he was out on the edge, right? Well, let's get the ball. Let's get some tosses. Let's get some jets. Let's get some outside zone, like where we're running away from Quinnen. Put him on the backside.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We might have to run into that short side, but hey, like, all right, bring the receiver over, have him crack. Like, there's different ways to get this run game going, as opposed to, all right, you put Quinnen on the front side because they're playing an over defense, and now he's that front side 3 technique, and he's beating the guard off the spot, or he's, he's on the back side of an inside zone run on that combo that we saw, and he ran right through the center in the guard and made the play in the backfield. Well, that's what's going to happen when you're running the ball in between the tackles with some of the better defensive tackles in the league, where you got to take them out. You have to just eliminate them out there and say, hey, DNs, safeties, outside linebacker, you guys got to make a play. We're telling you got to make a play. We're not going to let's get 4 yards apiece, though.
Yeah. I mean, look, you talked about, rookie. They were 3 rookie backup offensive linemen in this game, and I thought they played okay for being rookie backups.
Yeah.
But they're playing against, all pros. I mean, you So you gotta kind of got to give them a little help in play calling and design and things of that nature. So I get where you're coming from. You're a big proponent of people taking responsibility for their own actions and their own play. And, you were, like with the Anthony Richardson, you were like, yeah, he deserved to be benched. I'm now on the, I'm ready for EJ Speed to be benched for a while.
Dang.
Yeah. This game, I counted 3 more missed tackles. I counted a blitz where the running back ran into him. He was supposed to blitz. He ran into him. And instead of just sloughing him off and going straight at him, straight at the quarterback like he was supposed to, he stopped and then took the wide route and left the lane wide open for Aaron Rodgers to hit Breece Hall that he just ran into for the big gain down for a touchdown. And then at the end of the game,
okay, yeah, the end of the game probably was icing on the cake for you.
The end of the game did it.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
And I was sitting there going, "Get off of him! What are you doing?" And then the flag comes out. I was like, "Son of a mother!"
So, for the sake of Colts fans, like I know you don't want to see penalties against your team, but I am glad that finally that is getting thrown because defenses do that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Push you back down, lay on you forever, like act like they're getting up, like all the BS they do. And he did it right in front of the ref. So that was dumb on his part. But every team does it, right? So that was actually on cake for you because of everything that happened transpired before. My thing to you is this. If EJ doesn't start, then who plays for him?
I'll put Grant Stewart in there. At least he's out there playing with heart, making tackles. See, to me, look, I know that Grant's not going to cover guys as well as EJ. That is EJ's bread and butter. That's what he does very well. He covers very well. He closes field very well. He's very quick and all of that. I get that. I understand why he is the starter. But I feel like he's lost a little something since he's became a starter. And when he was special teams, he come in and play, and you've seen that heart. Grant Stewart, special teams. You see that heart when he comes in, when he has to come in and play. And I feel like maybe you bench him for a minute, kind of like what you did with Anthony, and be like, you need to get your head turned around. You need to start playing with your brain. You need to start playing with your heart rather than just reacting, and that's just how I feel about it. I love EJ. Don't get me wrong. I just feel like he needs a mental adjustment going on right now.
Yeah, I don't see that being – I mean, I see the thought process of it, right? I just don't – I mean, I think Grant Stewart plays with a lot of heart. He plays hard. He plays with a lot of heart. I watched a lot of them. I watched him a lot in preseason training camp when I went to the practices and saw how much how hard he worked on the field. I remember one day I was at practice and he wasn't in, but he would sprint down the field every time the ones took a rep, on the sideline. And I'm like, what the heck is this guy doing? You know what I'm saying? But I don't know, man. When he's in there, he makes plays, but he plays with a ton of heart. I'm gonna give you that. I just don't know if I hope that I don't think this would be the game to bench him though. This is not the game to do it.
Okay.
But excuse me.
I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm just saying I want more out of EJ. I know EJ can give more than what he has. I know he can play better than what he has. And, I feel like there needs to be something done on his part in order for that to happen.
A little fire lit under your ass every now and then is never a bad thing. And complacency is the easiest way for guys to not play as well. There's some guys that get comfortable in situations and you kind of see a decline in the way they play because they know that they're not coming out or they know that they're not, there's no one else better on the roster in this position. So go ahead, take me out and see what happens, right? I'm not saying that that's what EJ's doing. I think EJ propelled himself into that role through opportunity. he played well on special teams. He was always around the ball. He always made plays. Then when he got in, he played spirited. I think that he played good enough to have the coaching staff feel comfortable with him in there. And just how everything played out with, Leonard and everything like that, he stepped in and filled a role that, we really needed, right? And so I think he overall linebacker play has been above par. It's not subpar, but there are instances where you need him to be that guy that when his hands get on you, it's a tackle, right? It's not going to be a mishap, or he's reading the play a little bit better, a little bit faster. Because put it like this, like the week prior, he sniffed out some plays.
Yes, he did.
He sniffed out a lot of those screens.
He had some really high highs. He had a couple low lows too, where he missed some tackles, tried to shoulder tackle somebody rather than wrapping up. But he also got in the backfield and blew a play up, stuff like that. Yeah, I get you.
The league is just about consistency.
Mm-hmm.
The league is about consistency. And the consistent players, the guys who are trusted and are always on the field, and they play for a very long time. And when guys make plays, they can be on the field, but if they're not consistent after they make those plays, then you start getting into situations like this where you're like, well, where's that guy that was making those plays? Because that overshadowed his inconsistencies. But now when it's not as consistent with the big plays and you're seeing more of the inconsistencies, then now you're saying to yourself, well, why the hell is he still in there at times? Because he's not consistent enough, right? I don't feel comfortable with whoever it is to come up here and make this tackle or be in this gap or be, in the right coverages, right? Not letting the ball get behind you or a guy get behind, like all these things, as opposed to if a DB had 10, interceptions on the year, but he got beat a few times. Like you're like, he's got 10 picks though. But then when it goes down to 5 picks for the year and he's getting torched, you're like, yo, what the heck's going on here, right? So, EJ can be frustrating. EJ just, to me, and from my player's lens, I like EJ because he's just like young. He's just all over the place. Like he's just, he's like that little Energizer bunny out there that's going. But there's always going to be those times like, dang man, like come on EJ, like what I'm saying, like make that play too. So yeah, but we got to be. And listen, we're gonna do this next show later this week, but we got to be. Everybody's got to be.
A game.
Right.
A game in order. We are within reach of the division title this year. Believe it or not, right? We're only a game and a half out from tying this up. So,
well, Texans are descending, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Jacksonville's, excuse me from language words, they're shit.
No, after last night, there's no excuse. Just say whatever.
Tennessee is no better than Jacksonville,
right?
So, to be fair, like if we can get things, trending in the right direction, you can, if everything goes right, the division could be won in Indianapolis, but everything's got to go right and guys have got to play good. And there's not just these gimme games where, like they're just in the bag already. Right. So like, this game coming up is a huge test. Huge, because you saw how this team's how you see how they're playing.
With one of the best defensive players in the NFL on IR at that, right? Aiden's not even on there. Hutchinson's gone, and they're still playing like this. That's unreal. Before we get out of here, which we're going to do so in just a moment, I just want a quick shout out to special teams. They played a hell of a game yesterday. I thought Josh Downs did a good job in the return. And shout out Matt Gay, guy talking about consistency. He's been inconsistent all season, very consistent, even on the long shots yesterday. We don't win this game without Matt Gay's field goal abilities. And, shout out. I just want to make sure that he gets shouted out for having a good game.
No doubt. You got to show everybody love in all three phases of the ball. Sometimes that can get overlooked, but when plays get made, sometimes those are the make or break plays to win a game. So we can't forget about them in the least bit. So, hats off to the special teams. Everybody got to keep performing.
Absolutely.
But great win, though. Great win nonetheless. A win is a win. There's definitely things to clean up. I'm a little concerned for the run game, but we'll figure that out. Hopefully some guys can get back this week. get healthy, and just be ready to go, because this team coming into Indianapolis this weekend is firing on all cylinders. And they are going to be juiced up, and they're not taking anything lightly. They know what their prize is, and they got a head coach that's got them believing that they can beat the world at this point. So, we got to be ready for the task.
Indy better go out there with like 5 different sets of knee guards.
No, you know what they need? You know what they need to do? You know what they need? They need to bring out the black uniforms for this week, with the black helmet, with the blue horseshoe.
That'd be nice.
Ooh, nasty.
That'd be nice.
That's what they need to do. I'm telling you, switch it up, man. Just have everybody thinking they're Superman. When they come out that locker room, everybody's Superman. You could if you took your hand, you could throw somebody through the freaking ceiling. Like, that's how you got to be feeling. That's how you got to play. That's how it's got to be, because, you just want everybody just juiced up and playing to their capabilities of being an NFL player, because they can play, man. Don't let these dudes just come in here and just think they can just outplay you. Nah, you got to prove it to me at this point.
Yep.
Like, you got to prove it. Like, and Anthony just got to be studying his butt off, and, extra film work, get the O-line together Thursday night, go have dinner, do that at the facility. Order some food, order some wings, order some whatever, watch some film, get everybody camaraderie, everybody together on the same page, do it after practice for an hour or something like that, but just get everybody closer together, because I'm telling you right now, this Lions team is very close-knit, and it shows through their play, and especially the coach. So we got to be on that. We got to find that blueprint.
Yep. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode. I appreciate you spending a little bit of time. Appreciate each of you spending your time watching and listening on whatever platform you're watching and listening on. Make sure you like, subscribe, leave comments and stuff. And we wouldn't have this show without you guys. So shout out to you as well. And until next time, I'm Lawrence Owen. That's Donald Thomas. This is Believe in Colts, brought to you by Bet Online. And as usual, go Colts.
Go Colts, baby.
Do you believe?